Okay, so what I was going to do is basically just show you why it is just an absolutely fantastic piece of kit. So to start off with, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take some shots. Now, I'm here in Ely Bury. I'm looking over Downham Hill, and I've photographed here many times before, and there's just some beautiful clouds and dappled light on the hill itself. So I'm going to take bracketed exposures, and I'm going to start by just getting my focus. So I'm going to start off at 24mm. So this gives you a real feel for what a super zoom can do. So I'm going to take 3 exposures. So then the next kind of focal length that lots of people use, especially with like prime lenses, is kind of 50mm. So then again, can take a shot at 50, and then you can go up to the 70 to 200 range straight away. So then in at 70, another bracketed exposure, and then we can go to 135, which is a really good focal length for a lot of landscape photography. And then finally 200mm. So that gives you an idea of the kind of the reach and the capabilities of this lens. Now, when you're photographing, a couple of really important things with the super zoom. So first thing is you need camera correction turned on, because it does have what's called barrel distortion at one end and pincushion distortion at the other end. So you need to take out that distortion. You can take out that distortion using Lightroom profiles as well. The other thing that limits you slightly, as you could see from those photographs I just took, your f-stop is really important. So if you're photographing a scene where you want everything to be as sharp as possible, with the super zoom you really need to use its prime aperture, and that is the aperture that works best and sharpest for the lens, because it doesn't have the same quality as prime lenses. It doesn't have the same quality as a 2.8 expensive zoom, in that you're going to get sharpness across the board, pretty much across the f-stops. It's just not like that. So you have to compromise a little bit. So I think shooting on this, anything below about, generally about kind of f5.6, if you want to get the whole landscape in, you generally want to keep it above that. However, if you're a landscape photographer and you want to get the whole scene in anyway, and you want to keep the scene sharp, you wouldn't generally go below that anyway. So, but it is a restriction. So in terms of like low light photography, you just have to bump up your ISO constantly. Now, I was on ISO 100, but as you zoom in, if the light isn't good, I mean today the light's gorgeous, plenty of sunlight, but if the light isn't so good, you need a tripod to dramatically lower that shutter speed, or you need to bump up your ISO if you're shooting handheld. And I think that real world is as simple as this. If you've got very poor weather, changing a lens when you're outside can be nothing short of a nightmare. It creates more weight, it creates more time, less adaptability, and you could run the risk of damaging the sensor. So I think that having a super zoom is a really good compromise between being able to take your camera everywhere, having the focal ranges that you need, but also having almost pro level image quality in your bag. So, superzooms. One of the things that's a bit of a problem with them is their light gathering capabilities. So, for instance, when they are, sorry, I'm just going to put my sunglasses on. So, using them for astrophotography, you're not going to get a very low f-stop. And as the zoom increases, so will the f-stop, because it's a variable f-stop. Zoom and super zooms nearly always are. I think there's only one or two that aren't. So light gathering is one thing. The second thing is bokeh. So getting kind of nice out of focus backgrounds. Now that's a little bit tricky as well. You can get a nice out of focus background at about roughly about kind of 135mm up to about 200mm, I would say, where you don't get a kind of dizzying, slightly mushy out of focus background. You actually get a really, really clear one. But again, you're limited by the compression. So basically, you're getting the out of focus background not so much because you have a super low f-stop, it's because the compression of the zoom range is allowing for that. So you can get some really, really nice people shots, headshots and things like that, but I would go over about 100mm to actually get them there. So that way you get some really lovely examples of bokeh and a little bit of contrast between your subject and your background. And I'll put some images up and show you what I mean as examples of what I'm talking about. So, I'm just wandering along the beautiful long cam. So long cam is just over here. So just up there is long cam. And these beautiful fields around it. I love photographing this area. So there we have it, the super zoom. It's a compromise. I mean, if I'm honest, the one thing that is a problem with super zoom is contrast, and that is something that you'll see, I would say, arguably more so in landscape than you would in portraiture or wildlife photography, for instance. But a lot of that contrast can be gained in Lightroom, and it's all about compromise. It's all about how much kit do you want to take with you. In my case, I have spent a long time paring down my kit so it's as light as possible. And what I'm looking for is a one camera, one lens solution. And I think that when you want to go further, walk faster, and pack lighter and travel further, I think a super zoom is a fantastic option. I think the super zooms of old have been transformed. I think super zooms used to be a kind of almost like a bad word in the world of photography, but I think a lot has changed, and I think that zooms like this 24 to 200 allow you to get out there more and take lighter kit with you. There's also a 28 to 400. There are all different types of options that you can use depending on what is right for you. But personally, I wouldn't be put off by a slightly lower image quality, because the benefits far outweigh the small problems, and a lot of those small problems can be sorted out in Lightroom. So I hope you found that video useful. See you on the next one. Bye for now.